For the better half of the 20th century, the Democratic Party was primarily the working class party. And that is perhaps still true to some extent, but on average, the popular belief is that it is the educated elites and racial minorities is the primary benefactors, or the primary thought process of the Democratic Party, or make up the majority of the Democratic Party, and that working class whites and and other working class groups and Christians, fundamentalist Christians that have seemed to have been strong since the mid 1970s make up the Republican Party. And I don't know how much has changed, how much of this is myth, and how much of this is true. I was almost going to do a video, just a second part of my video on how I define woke. And some of the things I've said before, but this thing, this definition, I think I will repeat myself. Woke is often defined. Hey, how's it going, Darren? Woke is often defined as being aware of injustice, particularly racial injustice. And I don't define it by the classic definition. I define it by those who are practitioners of woke, and many of them are moral authoritarians. And I define woke because of that, by the people who practice it, as moral authoritarianism. I want to say hello to Darren. Darren is in the house. Darren and I go back quite some time. I don't know if he was around during the Blog Talk days or only the Spreaker days, but he has been around for a while. I also want to say that I can remember when the Republican Party had a very strong pro-life group within their ranks, and they actually had a group called Pro-Life Republicans, and they had a website. And I actually belong to that. I believe I belong to that group. But they're not as vocal, and I think that you will start to see vocal, since the decision, the Roe v. Wade being overturned. I think you will see a more vocal pro-choice. Did I say pro-life? I meant there was a large pro-choice group within the Republican Party, and they were rather vocal. They were a minority, but they were a rather large and a rather vocal minority within the party. And I think you're going to see a larger and perhaps even a rebirth of pro-choice Republicans. I see that Darren and Master of Rope are in the house. They are speaking here. And the Master of Rope says it's the rich elites. They may allow a few minorities in, but the issue is class issue, not a race issue. I'm going to perhaps push back a little bit on that. The elites, for whatever reason, they are educated, and they are often indoctrinated into certain beliefs and mindsets. And these beliefs and mindsets are not often up for debate or even up for discussion. And they use their power and influence to get their bidding done. And they often use fear and intimidation. And you can't even speak out against certain things. And, you know, today, I mean, a Republican has to walk carefully. I guess more Republicans will speak out against Trump, but how many Democrats? I haven't heard one elected Democrat, and I could be wrong, and if you notice anyone, Fauci, I like this one right here. Darren, you get a Dr. Fauci for president. There we go. That's wonderful. But I don't hear any Democrat ever speak out against wokeness. And I've heard a few Democrats speak out against Trumpism. But yeah, no Democrats. I don't think there are any moderate Democrats. And I don't really even know if there are any necessarily moderate Republicans, and really who speaks for the moderates, who speaks for the person kind of in the middle who believes in fairness and justice and what is best, and who's the one who's able to make compromise. And Darren says, I enjoyed when they broke every single window in downtown Portland after Trump was elected. Yeah. And I've heard they did in Portland. Again, I guess people are just unaware, and they don't necessarily know how toxic portions of the left are, and how they just ignore the violence, and they ignore the behavior of the left. I mean, again, Biden didn't even acknowledge that Antifa existed, that it was an idea. And again, how can one kind of support such a thing when something is right before your eyes? And it was not an act of bravery to do that. It was it was really sad. And it's like somebody not recognizing Nazi Germany or the Soviet Union. It's just it's blind. It's even more blind, in my opinion, because it's right in our back. It's more blind than a lot of the people not recognizing perhaps the threat of the Soviet Union was back in the day. This is right in our backyard. People recognize, I guess, Russia and Ukraine, but cannot recognize basically the Antifa, these Antifa groups, and the reign of terror. Not only the terror physically, but also they go after employment and the such. So I'm thinking that they have more of an inside track to a lot of things, and they just they're able to ignore it, and that's, I guess, for me, kind of a problem. Anyway, I'm going to have to end this show because I have to get to work. So like, subscribe, leave a comment down below, and thank you for listening.